Hello again, David Creel, Ziegler Master Coach, Speaker, Trainer, published author, and obviously a podcast host. I'm joined today by my friend with the same name, but from a different state, David. How are you, David?
I'm doing great, David.
Yeah, too many Davids, so
That's right. I had a friend that I met in an author group a few months back. We went to a retreat together, and his name was David, and we wound up being D1 and D2 during the whole process. And now it's kind of funny we refer to each other as D1 and D2.
yeah,
So
yeah. It's funny because David's not a super common name. And I don't know if you're like me, whenever I'm just out wherever and I hear anyone say David, I'm looking.
yep, turn
I
around.
don't know if they're because there's not too many. It's not like your name is Josh or
Yeah,
Jane. It's a common name, but it's not super common name. And whenever I hear it, like there's a guy at my church whose name's David too, and we could be in the same room. Somebody says David, I'm turning my head because I'm like, are they talking to me? Like they clearly are, but oh wait, there is another David in here, so it makes it you hear your own name and you're like, oh, who are they talking to?
yeah.
So okay, so this is gonna be fun today. So if you don't mind, we'll go ahead and get right on into it. So um what would make this an amazing conversation today?
That sounds great.
Yeah, so what would make this amazing? What
Oh,
would
what would make this an amazing
what,
conversation today? I tell you what, if I could get some solid answers for clear direction in the area I'm working in right now, that would make it amazing to me.
okay, so I'm gonna need a little bit more context in that. So clear direction and what?
Okay, so I too am a published author.
Awesome.
Published my first book got my first copies in April of this year, first week of April. And I'll go ahead and hold up the cover. I got my screen blurred, so it may be a little bit of a problem. There
Almost,
we go.
almost home. Okay, there you go. Okay. Setting our sights toward heaven. Okay, perfect. All right.
So I'm a published author, got that ready for the world. It launches officially October the 3rd of this fall. So that's my front and center. Everything that's making my life tick right now is trying to get this book launched. And so I guess the most amazing thing I could take from this is what are the steps I need to take, David? What are the if you could give me the 5-step process, the 10-step process, what are the things I need to do to make this the most successful book launch on the planet, especially with your experience as a published author? So I guess that would be and when I say successful book launch, I'm talking about substantial sales, substantial footprint, growth from this, and everything that can come from the launch of this book and propelling that for me into the future to get me moving in the right direction for my business around this book.
Whew.
How's
Okay.
that?
Boys and girls at home, as I tell everybody that comes on this thing, I don't have a clue what they're going to say until they say it. So okay. All right. So what would you like to do?
With the book or in general?
With well, I thought the topic was how do I get a more successful book, right? And when that
Yeah.
topic of the discussion, I mean, yeah, in general, that's fine. But if we want to talk about the book, what would you like to do?
So one of the things that got me to this place was my joy for writing. This isn't just a self-help book, a 5-step plan or whatever to call this a one and done. I love writing. I enjoy writing. I'm doing a blog. I've got 5 more books in the chute. So building a business around this book as my, base footprint to launch me forward is really where I'm after. And the thing that I would like to do is build a solid repeatable income around this book business, whether it be the writing part of it, being on calls like this with people like you, doing podcast interviews, uh, speaking events, whatever. Not necessarily interested in traveling all over the place. Been there, done that. Willing to do a little bit of that, but just, you know, creating a life of peace and rest, and not wearing myself out and killing myself like I used to do in the corporate world. So I'm an escapee of the corporate world system where I worked 28 years and been out of that for 2.5 years now, and I do not want to go back. So so that's part of the plan, is to continually create this place of peace and rest and financial peace around what I'm doing with this book business. Does that make sense?
Yes and no. Yes, it does make perfect sense. But what does that mean? Like, you want to create a place of peace and rest and financial prosperity in the whole deal, but like tactically, what does that mean? Like, what do you want to do to make this happen?
I want to live here on our farm and write. And, you know, when I started doing that, I envisioned just being the writing hermit, you know, the guy that's going to go in my office, drink coffee, sit around, you know, walk out on the porch, look at the green pasture and the sheep. And, but, but ideally, uh, that doesn't pay the bills. So
Right. So what do you want to do that is going to produce an income around the book or the book business? What do you want to physically do? Do you want to have a group? Do you want to have a mastermind? Do you want to have a Facebook group? Do you want to have a writers club? Do you want to have a course? Do you want to go on book tours? What do you want to do to generate? Do you want to get on speaking stages and then you talk about your book and you sell your books at the back? Do you want to have a mastermind? Do you want to have an intensive? What do you want to do to generate money around your book?
I could see doing about half of those things you just said. So I can see myself doing group calls, teaching courses, maybe, you know, maybe an online course, maybe something where I'm getting on Zoom, you know, like this with a group of folks that are paying me, you know, to hear about our beliefs and what we believe in, and you know, the foundation of our faith, and those type of things. And I could see doing, you know, working into that, part of that plan being getting on a stage, you know, not afraid to do that, done that before, you know, in my previous role in the corporate world. But, you know, kind of a mix of those things you just said. I could see, uh, I've been very actively busy in social media this year for the last 7 months, that quite frankly has wearing me out. And so I could see maybe doing a pullback from the social media piece of it, just to the extent of knowing that it's a necessary tool. It's where I need to be in the public square, you know, operating, but not letting that be my overwhelming presence, you know, as I move forward with my business and trying to figure out how to come out of the hole, you know, per se, of being the writing hermit, you know, come out, you know, make my appearance to the world in uh courses, you know, video things. I don't love being on video, maybe as much as you do, David, but uh I could see that being something I really need to develop more, and getting very skilled at this. So, and you know, not being a, and I'm not afraid to talk to people. I just don't like seeing my face on camera talking, you know, being a talking head, I guess. But one piece of this that I have been enjoying is actually getting on a screen with somebody like you, doing a podcast. I've done several podcast interviews over the course of the last couple of months, and I have some more in the shoot. So that's something that I can really get into. Now, whether or not I'm going to do a podcast, and lead one, that is yet to be determined, but I surely don't mind getting on and talking with somebody else in this context.
Okay. So of the 5 or 6 or 8 or 15 things that you could do, which one would you like to do to start?
Well, I'm already doing podcast interviews. Obviously, that's not directly bringing income, immediately, but eventually that drives people to my website, people to book sales, so that's something I can see working on right now, and I am. Is that what you're getting at?
What would you like to do that could directly lead to income?
Write stories.
Write stories for who?
Well, I enjoy writing about personal events in my life that lead to a discussion with somebody that can help them. So I do that on my blog, and I've got, other books that I'm working on. But ideally, I enjoy writing to be able to speak to an audience for the purpose of not just entertainment, but teaching them about things that have happened or is happening in my life that can help them as they move forward in theirs.
Okay. And is your blog where you can monetize it?
Not yet,
Okay.
but
So,
that's based out of ignorance more than anything.
okay. Well, I mean, that could be, you could run ads or whatever on your deal. I don't know how to do that. That's above my pay grade, but there are
Yeah,
people out there that know how to do that. But
yeah.
what of all the things that you could do, what is the one thing that you could do that could literally say, if you want whatever this thing is, buy now and give you some of their money?
That's a tough one.
Okay, because that's kind of, if the stated goal is to, I want to build a business around my books, a business infers someone buying something from you that they think is more valuable than the price you're charging. So if the book is $20 and they think it's a bargain, they'll gladly give you $20 for your book. If they don't think it's worth 20 cents, they won't give you $20.
Right.
But not that it's not needed, like a blog, podcasting, all that stuff. But that doesn't, like you said, that doesn't generate income, maybe ever. It just depends on how many people follow you and like what you have to say and share and, tell their friends. Because you can't go to somebody who wants to maybe put an ad on your blog, and they say, how many readers do you have? And you say, I've got 6 a month. They're not going to give you $1 because they'll just keep their money. But
Yeah.
the business part of it means there has to be something for sale, or they can't give you any money. So what's a small step or something small you could do to have something available for someone to buy?
Maybe create a course.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so would the course be around your book? Would it be what would the course be about?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, my first book, covers a lot of ground. It covers family dynamics, large family dynamics, chasing after the American dream and the corporate world, and then escaping the corporate world. It talks about biblical financial principles, and how to apply those. And I kind of talk through and demonstrate that in the book in story form. It's not like a teaching textbook or anything, but it's more of a here's all the different things we did to apply principles, in family life, uh, our finances, how to get out of debt, all those kind of things, and how to be a dad and a stepdad, in all the process of a growing family, and how to do all that with 9 kids in our house. So whatever parts and pieces I could pull out of that would relate to uh financial principles, being a dad. You could I suppose you could do a course on those financial principles, which to me, you think, man, everybody in the world knows this stuff. Uh Everybody else in the world's teaching this stuff. Why would they want to hear it from me? And that's kind of the process I go through in my head when it comes to, okay, I'm going to teach people how to be a dad, or I'm going to teach people how to have a great marriage, which I have, or I'm going to teach people how to get out of debt. And I just keep thinking, oh, well, there's 500,000 people out there that are already teaching all these things that I am. So why me? Who's going to even give me the time of day in that arena, to step up and say, oh, well, I'm going to go listen to David Steen and what he has to say about this. So I guess that's what I struggle with in picking the course, doing one, and getting on with it.
Oh, okay. Now, see, that's the real issue. The real issue is not, I want to have a business, I want to have all these other things. The real issue is you don't feel worthy to be able to help someone else.
Yeah, a lot of times.
Okay. So now all that stuff we spoke about for the last 15 or 20 minutes, this is where the rubber meets the road. Okay. So let's say that's true. Let's say there's 500,000 people teaching you personal finances, which I would say is a bit of a stretch by several 100,000, but let's just say it's 500,000. Okay.
Sure.
How many people are in America?
What is it?
350
million?
million or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So what's 380 million? What's 500,000 of 380 million?
Yeah, that's a pretty small number.
Drop in the ocean is what that is. It's a drop in the bucket. I mean, think about it. Think about what if you had 20 million followers on Facebook and Instagram and and all the social media, LinkedIn, you had 20 million people following you. What's that compared to 7.8 billion in the world, most of which don't speak your language? Drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
So even the most known in the world, still, half the world, like, okay, let's say the Pope, okay? I don't have a clue who the Pope is. I know there is a Pope, but I don't have a clue what his name is. No clue. I mean, my guess would be they seem to be John or Mark, or maybe Paul. Paul, I don't know if Paul's right, but John or Mark is probably my guess. But
Francis.
Or Francis, okay?
Maybe. That's my guess too. I don't have a clue either.
So just us two, we don't have a clue who the Pope is. No clue. We know there is a Pope, but I mean, if the Pope walked into my house right now, I'd be like, who are you and what are you doing in here? I don't even know what he looks like. And that's the Pope. And just us two people, and we speak English, and the Pope speaks English, and we don't even know what his name is. And he's the Pope. So with that being said, what if, let's use Dave Ramsey for an example. Okay, because he's like pretty much in personal finance, he's in the discussion of
everybody.
Like one of the icons, okay?
Yep.
But he's not really gettable. You can't just walk into Dave Ramsey's office and sit down and have a one-on-one meeting with him. And you definitely, more than likely, aren't going to have him come to your house and physically show you what to do. Or he's not going to hop on a Zoom call with you and show you what to do.
Right.
But Dave Steen can. Especially with that, because the people that you know that are in your network, they already know, like, and trust you. They may know, like, and trust Dave Ramsey, but they don't know, like, and trust Dave Ramsey like they know you, because they don't know Dave Ramsey. They know you. And you might be able to speak to someone where, have you ever, like you said, you have 9 kids, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So have you ever noticed, I'm sure you have, where you or your wife tell one of your kids something repeatedly, like it's like a broken record, and it doesn't land. But then I come in and I don't know your kids. I just know them very casually. And I tell them basically the exact same thing, and then it lands.
Yep.
Okay. That's the same deal. You've got way more influence on your kids than I ever will, because they're your kids. Same with the financial and same with the book. If you have a message that can help people and they already know, like, and trust you, you're frankly being selfish if you don't share it. Because you might just be the one, whenever they say it, that may be the thing that breaks the dam. And it's like, I get it now. Now, they're not going to be thinking of, oh, somebody told me this 27 years ago. And it's like, no, I've heard this before, but now I got it, because you hit them at the right moment, at the right time, and you spoke to them. Okay. So with all that being said, who's the target audience of your book? Because it can't be everyone. If it's everyone, it serves no one. It has to be, it can't be everyone who speaks English. That can't be it.
Right.
So who's it for? Like, if you could draw up, this is the person this book is for, who would it be?
That's hard to nail it down, because it's a broad base. I would imagine probably mostly Christian people are going to read my book.
Okay.
It's a nonfiction Christian faith-based book.
Okay.
About our story. But I would say that it reaches into a broad scope of different parts and pieces of adult Christian people.
Okay. So, but that's a start.
Yeah.
Because it's not really for kids, and it's not really for teenagers. They could read it, but this is for adult Christian people or couples.
Right.
Okay. So that's way more narrow than anyone who's a Christian who speaks English.
Right.
Because it's not a kid's book and it's not a teenage book. It's for adults.
Yeah.
So that's way more narrow than any person of faith that is breathing. Okay. That's a big net. Okay. what is the problem that your target audience is experiencing that they're going to get a solution to after reading and implementing what they learn in your book?
Well, that's the thing. This isn't a self-help book. I mean, they're going to pick up all kinds of stories throughout the book that take them through my experiences, our experiences as a family. It takes them through being a step family. It takes them through uh all the financial challenges, of having to make, hard financial choices, living in frugality. It takes them through recovering from divorce and building a step family and a strong marriage out of that. I'd say that's probably a big piece of it, is that my wife and I both came from a terrible divorce, recovered from that, remarried. We've been married for 24 years now and have a thriving marriage out of all that, and out of all the, adversity that we've seen over the last 25 years. And it takes people through chasing after the American dream, heaping up all the stuff that America tells you you must own and have, and God teaching us to walk away from all that stuff. And in the midst of all that, it's the financial piece of it, of getting out of debt and walking through that in a real way, where we live in a 100% debt-free household right now.
Okay. So I know it's not a self-help book, but it could help someone with their finances, or if they're recovering from divorce, it could help them, even though it's not a self-help book, correct?
Right. Yep, I agree.
Okay, so let's just pick divorced people, divorced adult Christians.
Okay.
That's a little bit more narrow than Christian adults. That's just a little bit more narrow. Where do divorced adult Christians hang out?
Some of them are just hanging out at home doing nothing, but they hang out on Facebook, and some of them hang out in church. But yeah, I mean, you're probably a place some of them might hang out would be in a Facebook group, maybe.
What if you started a Facebook group?
Just created one out of sky blue.
That's how all of them are created. They don't just appear. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very simple. You can make one. It's 10:37 a.m. right now when we're speaking. If you signed off at 10:38, you could have a Facebook done by 10:42. It's not that complicated. And then what if you started reaching out to those people that are, you think maybe in your target, and said, hey, I'm creating a group. I'd like you to join it. We're going to talk about this and this and this and this. Are you interested? Because then when you get your group and you get people in your group, then maybe you reach out to them individually. Hey, how can I help? Would you like to benefit? Like, if I give you a couple chapters of the book, would you benefit from it? Maybe after you hear what they're going through or whatever. Hey, my book covers about this. I'd be happy to give you a chapter. Like, say they have financial difficulties. Hey, I got a couple chapters in my book and I will give it to you if you want it. And then maybe you take it to the next step where it's like, hey, they may say, hey, this was really good. Can you teach me this? Yes. Let's jump on another Zoom call and let's talk about it. Yeah. Then, if you end up having if it's a financial course or it's a whatever course, then you have an audience you're building and your own people. And then whenever you launch the course or the book, they'll be the first to know about it. Because, and also, I would start getting their email addresses yesterday. Because the only problem with Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever else you go is it's not your sandbox, it's someone else's sandbox.
Right.
But your email list is your sandbox. So I would just think about the smallest possible step you can take to get thinking about what I can do around the book that generates income. Not that you shouldn't stop your blog. You keep doing your blog and you keep getting on podcasts. But if you want this to kind of really launch, it's July 21st. So you've got August, September, you got 2 months, and you got 9 or 10 weeks until October. You said October 1st it launches, right?
3rd, yeah.
Okay, 3rd. Okay. So so you got 9 or 10 weeks. But if you went over there, because you could also do, what if you had a bonus, like pre-order the book, and whoever pre-orders the book, we're all going to jump on a Zoom call and we're going to discuss it before you get your hands on the book. Or a week after the book launches, we're all going to hop on a Zoom call and we're going to talk about what you picked up so far, or what you've got out of the book, or whatever. This isn't like I want your critique of the book, because the book's done. It's what are you learning from the book that you've already implemented, that how is your life going to be better from reading the book? Or do you know anybody that would benefit from reading the book? So it's like a bonus where it gets people excited about, hey, I'm really looking forward to this book. And you're not going to believe it, the book's $20. And I'm going to have a Zoom meeting with the author. Like, you got to check this thing out. This is pretty cool. It's $20, and that way that gives you something, because then say all those people, say 25 people show up on the Zoom meeting. Well, now you have 25 email addresses and you can stay in contact with them and start building your email list.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Small steps. Small. Let's not go from this call and the very next thought when we hang up is, I'm going to go speak in front of 15,000 people.
Right.
Because then you'll do nothing, because you'll get overwhelmed. You're like, what's the point? I'll just phone it in for the day. And there's also, obviously, we both know who Dan Miller is, right? I mean, you're aware of who that guy is. Him and Michael Hyatt, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 years ago, did I thought it was a video. I think it might be on YouTube. There's definitely, you can Google it. Dan Miller and Michael Hyatt. You know who Michael Hyatt is, I assume?
Yep.
Okay. So Dan Miller and Michael Hyatt were having some meeting where Dan Miller was talking about how he turned a book into $100,000 worth of revenue. Courses, memberships, blogs, podcasts, email lists, all the things, shirts, mugs, coffee mugs, the whole deal. But what he said on that one was, the book alone is not going to make me wealthy.
Right.
This is Dan Miller. I mean, he sells some books.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've heard Dan Miller say that about 1,000 times now.
But he doesn't make enough from his books to be able to live the life he wants. It's all the other things that are around the book that make the book the book.
Yeah.
But if you could find that article or ask Dan for it, he literally breaks it down. I mean, step by step, this is what I did to turn my book into a business, like you said. Because there's very few people on earth that literally make their money from just a book.
Right.
I mean, my guess would be less than 10, like on earth. So the chances of you just rolling your book out to the world, because I mean, there's 1,000 books published every single day. Not that yours isn't valuable, but there's a lot of books being published.
Right.
But if you don't have anything where people can like create a movement like around the book, it's going to be very difficult, not impossible, because it has been done. But like I could think of, let's say Stephen King. Okay. But Stephen King just doesn't have his books. I'm sure he goes to writers' conference or whatever, and he speaks. And he also has his books turned into movies. So it's not like he just writes and then it just, once a year he just presents a book to the world and everybody just swoops to it. He's got other things around it, but it started with his books. But if you a Facebook group or mastermind, whatever, then it's the auxiliary stuff around the book is what generates the money, and the book is just gravy.
Yep.
So what's the smallest possible step you could do to start getting this ball rolling? Because we're 10 weeks out. We're on the clock here.
Yes, we are.
I mean, this is the 2-minute warning and the whistle blows.
I guess create a Facebook group would be a really good start.
Perfect.
Maybe even if it's just around the topic of the book and not necessarily targeted to the divorced people, but maybe it's the book Facebook group.
Okay, so what's it going to be called?
Well, the book title is Almost Home, so I guess it would be something related to the Almost Home book discussion group or something along those lines.
Awesome. Perfect. I think that's a good place to start, just because then you can start building some buzz around it. And then make sure whenever you start the group and they come into the group, make sure you, hey, welcome our new members. I'm so glad y'all are here. That's going to be awesome. And then maybe, once every few days, go in there and drop a little nugget on them. Or go live in the Facebook group, and that way they can ask questions about the book or where can they order the book, and go in there and try to be present for them. And then continue doing your blog and, growing your email list and all that stuff. But that maybe give, like, this is the hub. You want in on the good stuff, this is where it's happening. Because then once you do that, then it's like, okay, so people seem to be well received from that. And now what's the next smallest possible step I can do? And then take that action. And then after that, okay, 2 for 2. So I'm kind of on a roll. So what's the next smallest possible step I could do? And then you need to tell everybody and their mother that you have a book coming out. I mean, everyone and their mother. Because if you don't ask, they can't buy if you don't ask, right?
That's right.
Or if they don't even know it's available to be bought, how could they buy it if they don't know?
Yep.
Shout it from the rooftops.
Yep. Working on that.
Because think about it, what if a year from now, someone randomly comes up to you on the street and says, your book changed my whole life, would it be worth it?
It already has been.
Well, there you go.
I've already had some people like that, so it's been great.
So right now you're playing with the house's money. Awesome. Okay. Well, this was fun.
Yep, it was.
Awesome. Okay. Well, look, boys and girls, October the 3rd. Check your local bookstores. Almost Home is coming out, and I'm sure it will be available soon for purchase. If it's not available right now, might help you. So y'all have a great one. Talk to you soon.
Yep. Thanks, David.
Awesome.